Robinho. Robinho was the face of the Joga Bonito era. He was the player Pelé personally endorsed as his successor. He played for Real Madrid, Manchester City and AC Milan. He was a global brand ambassador for the sport. But while he was playing for AC Milan in 2013, he was involved in an incident at a nightclub that would destroy his legacy. He was accused, along with 5 others, of sexually assaulting a young woman. For years, the legal process dragged on, while Robinho continued to play in China, Turkey and Brazil. He maintained his innocence, but Italian prosecutors had audio recordings from wiretaps where Robinho explicitly admitted he knew the victim was incapacitated. In 2017, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison by an Italian court. Because Brazil does not extradite its own citizens, he lived freely in Santos for years. He even tried to sign a contract with Santos FC in 2020. The pressure from sponsors, who cited FIFA's ethical codes, forced the club to tear up the contract within days. Finally, in 2024, Brazil's High Court ruled he must serve the sentence in a Brazilian jail. FIFA has since removed him from all legend promotions. The man who was once the future of Brazilian football is now serving a 9-year sentence, and his highlights have largely vanished from official channels. Quincy Promes is a unique case because his criminal career happened simultaneously with his football career. Promes was a Dutch international, playing for top clubs like Ajax and Sevilla. He was a recognised talent in Europe. In 2020, news broke that he was being prosecuted for stabbing his cousin during a family dispute. But that was just the beginning. Dutch authorities later charged him with involvement in smuggling over 1,300 kilograms of cocaine through the port of Antwerp. This wasn't low-level dealing, this was large-scale international trafficking. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison in the Netherlands. However, Promes was playing for Spartak Moscow in Russia at the time. Because there is no extradition treaty, he simply stayed in Russia, continuing to play professional football and even scoring goals, while being a convicted felon in his home country. FIFA and UEFA were left in an awkward position. A high-profile player was an active fugitive. He was eventually detained in Dubai in 2024. The Dutch Football Association has completely disowned him, stating he will never play for the national team again. Ruben Semedo was considered one of the best young defenders in Portugal. He was signed by Villarreal in Spain for €14 million. He had the physical tools to be a world-class centre-back. But his time in Spain was chaotic. In 2018, he was arrested for a bizarre incident involving a man he met at a nightclub. Semedo was charged with attempted murder, kidnapping and robbery. Prosecutors alleged that he and 2 others tied the man up in Semedo's basement, beat him and held him at gunpoint to rob his apartment. Semedo spent 5 months in preventive prison. He was eventually given a suspended sentence and banned from entering Spain for 8 years. Remarkably, he continued his career, moving to Greece to play for Olympiakos, where he even played in the Champions League. However, the big European clubs and FIFA backed away. He was seen as a liability. His career has since been a series of short stints in lesser leagues, a massive waste of talent due to erratic and criminal behaviour. Joey Barton is a name that divides opinion, but his rap sheet goes far beyond hard tackling. While he had a long Premier League career, he was a constant headache for the FA due to genuine violence. In 2004, he stubbed a lit cigar out in the eye of a youth player at Manchester City. In 2007, he assaulted teammate Ousmane Dabo during training, leaving Dabo detached retina and earning Barton a 4-month suspended prison sentence. Later that year, he was sentenced to 6 months in jail for common assault and affray after a street fight in Liverpool. While the Premier League allowed him to return, his reputation never recovered. He was eventually banned from football for 18 months in 2017, not for violence, but for placing over 1,200 bets on matches, breaking integrity rules. Today, Barton has become a controversial figure online, and the clubs he played for City, Newcastle, QPR rarely celebrate his time there. He is viewed less as a legend and more as a cautionary tale of how lack of discipline can overshadow talent. Lesser leagues, a massive waste of talent due to erratic and criminal behaviour. Mason Greenwood presents a modern dilemma for football authorities. He was the crown jewel of Manchester United's academy, considered a generational talent. In 2022, disturbing audio recordings and images were released on social media regarding a serious incident in his private life. He was arrested and faced severe criminal charges regarding personal misconduct and physical harm. Manchester United suspended him, major sponsors dropped him, and EA Sports removed him from the video games. He was effectively erased from the sport's digital footprint. However, in 2023, the legal case was discontinued by the Crown Prosecution Service after key witnesses withdrew and new material came to light. From a legal standpoint, the case was closed. But the public and the footballing world had heard the tapes. Manchester United attempted to reintegrate him but faced such severe backlash from fans and staff that they were forced to abandon the plan. He was moved to Getafe in Spain and then Marseille in France. While he is playing and scoring today, he remains in a strange limbo regarding the English national team and the Premier League. He is a star player who is simultaneously being ignored by the institutions that once marketed him. Dani Alves is statistically one of the most successful players in history, 43 trophies. A Barcelona legend. For 2 decades, he was untouchable. But his story has become the most complex legal rollercoaster in modern football. In December 2022, Alves was accused of serious misconduct in a Barcelona nightclub. The allegations were severe, and the evidence appeared to be overwhelming. In February 2024, he was convicted and sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. The football world immediately wrote him off. Barcelona stripped his legend status. His statue in Brazil was vandalised. He was effectively erased from the sport. But then, the system turned. After serving 14 months, Alves launched an appeal that shocked everyone. In March 2025, a Spanish court overturned his conviction. The judges ruled that there was insufficient evidence to prove the charges and cited inconsistencies in the testimony. Legally, he is a free man again. But the court of public opinion is different. Instead of returning to football, Alves has rebranded himself entirely. He now appears at evangelical events, calling himself a disciple of Jesus and claiming his time in custody was a spiritual awakening. FIFA and Barcelona are in a strange limbo. He is no longer a convict on paper, but the stain of the trial means you still won't see him in new promotional campaigns. He is free, but the player he used to be is gone. Benjamin Mendy's story is one of the most confusing falls and returns in history. In 2017, he was the most expensive defender in the world at Manchester City. By 2021, he was sitting in a high-security prison, charged with a string of severe offences involving multiple women. He spent over 2 years suspended, while the world assumed his career was over. But in 2023, after multiple trials, a jury found him not guilty on all charges. He walked out of court, a free man. However, his reputation was shattered. Manchester City released him, but Mendy fought back. In late 2025, he won a landmark legal battle against Man City for millions in unpaid wages during his suspension. He returned to football, playing for Lorient in France, Zurich in Switzerland, and now in Poland. While he was legally cleared, the top tier of football has largely kept its distance. He is the player who won his freedom, but lost his place at the top table. In the early 90s, Nizar Trabelsi was a midfielder for Fortuna Düsseldorf in the German Bundesliga. He played at the highest level, but after his career ended, he took a dark path. He travelled to Afghanistan and met with the leadership of a known terrorist organisation. In 2001, 2 days after the September 11th attacks, Trabelsi was arrested in Belgium. Authorities discovered he was planning a devastating attack on a NATO airbase. He was sentenced to 10 years, then extradited to the US. For 2 decades, he was the only known former top-flight footballer on a terror watch list. In a stunning update, Trabelsi was released and returned to Belgium in late 2025 after a long legal battle regarding his extradition. While he is out of prison, the Bundesliga and FIFA have completely distanced themselves from his legacy. To find arguably the darkest story, we have to go back to 1930. Alexandre Villaplane was the captain of the French national team at the very first World Cup, but when World War II began and France was occupied, Villaplane became a monster. He joined the French Gestapo and led a unit tasked with hunting down resistance fighters. He was known for his brutality, personally overseeing torture and executions. In 1944, after Paris was liberated, Villaplane was captured, tried for high treason, and executed by firing squad. The man who led France out onto the pitch at the World Cup was killed by his own country for war crimes. The French Football Federation barely acknowledges his existence today. He is the captain they want the world to forget. These were the players who had the world at their feet and lost it all. If you found this deep dive interesting, make sure to subscribe for more stories from the darker side of the game.